The best agents have designated spaces where they do lead generation calls, and typically they're papered with scripts. I knew a guy who in his 20s, second year in the business, was making $250,000 a year. And he went to his RE/MAX broker owner and asked to rent the broom closet. Literally. He didn't have an office. He took a closet that was just big enough to turn around in, but he covered the walls with scripts. And he just went in there and just dialed in his sources. I don't even know exactly what they were, expireds or FSBOs or the phone book, I don't know. But $250,000 his second year doing that. There's power. Again, the most powerful tool an agent has is their tongue. So master this, okay? Page 17, more examples of stacking the power phrases in response to common objections. Same thing on page 18. Stacking phrases according to what you might hear. Page 19, look at the top. What do you mean that you specialize in homes that should have sold but didn't? Okay, so Jolly, here's some dialogue for you right there. My role as a specialist is to come in and help you put together the appropriate plans and strategies that, if implemented and held accountable, will result in getting your home sold. Okay? You go into a little bit of education. Why homes sell? Kind of the dialogue that we had this morning. Okay? All right. These others are just expansions on what we've already talked about, but they give you advanced dialogue. And then page 20. Look here with me. Why didn't you show my home when it was for sale? We kind of talked through this because it didn't fit the criteria of my buyers. But if I have one now who your criteria fits, it'll be the first home that I show. Okay? Now the last box here, alternative opening dialogue. Should have been at the beginning. We threw it in right at the end. If you just need another way to open, here goes. Particularly on day 181, the day of or the day after a listing expires. Mr. Smith, this is Frank with RE/MAX. Listen, I don't want to bug you because you've probably been bombarded with calls today. However, I do specialize in homes that should have sold but didn't, and am simply wondering if there was a good time for me to come by and share with you a proactive plan for getting your home sold. Okay? It's power dialogue. It's made agents wealthy. All right, page 21. Accountability is the key. Again, Harvard study shows that productivity increases by 30% when you report your results to another person. So I'm going to encourage you to track your results daily, track your activities daily, how many dials, talks, sets, meetings, and listings taken. Definitions are at the bottom. Do a little reflection after each call session. I'm glad I did this, whatever that is. I wish I had done this, learned my dialogues a little better, found a quieter place to make my calls. I wish I had invested in a wireless headset, whatever it is. And my biggest learning lesson. You're gonna track daily and then save these and report these to an accountability partner on a weekly basis. And then page 22, the last page, the pre-listing questions. By the way, if you don't have a list like this, this could be valuable. Anytime you set a listing appointment, you need to gather critical information before arriving at the home. And here is some of that information. And I've talked to plenty of agents who have their own list, and some are more robust. But here's a list. Here's a starting point if you don't have one, to help you to be fully prepared when you go in. Now, I promised you that we would talk about where to find call lists. How do you find expired sellers? Those of you who've worked this source, do you have anything you could share with us along that line? Where do you find expireds? In the MLS. So you just go to the hot sheet. You've got to search. Okay. So it's fairly easy to find in the MLS, and the simplest way is just to search on hot sheets. It's one of the tab options, and then you can select expireds, and it will show you both those that are expiring today and those that have expired within the previous week. Okay? Now, the challenge with the MLS is it does not give you phone numbers on expired listings. The simplest way that I have found to deal with that is when you pull up the expired list, select each individual property, and right in the center of the listing, at least in tempo, it'll say tax account, and it will give a link to the tax information on that property, which provides the homeowner's name. Still no phone number. But you take that name and you open the old-fashioned paper phone book and see if the name is in there. By the way, I did this as a test yesterday in the Woodlands. The first two, the only two that I did, were both in the phone book. The phone numbers were there. You could also go to anywho.com, which is a service of the Yellow Pages, anywho.com, and you can search by address or by name. It's a free service, and every time I have used it, you know what, most recently was on a lead street lead, where an agent said, it looks like a great lead, but there's no phone number. I said, let's go to anywho.com. We typed in the name and the city that they were from, and the phone number popped right up. Okay, so that's one source. That using the MLS will require a little bit of legwork, but it can be done, and the best thing is you already paid for it. If you're going to commit to this as a source and you're going to be making at least 10 dials a day, I'm going to encourage you to look at buying a list. And there are a couple sources. One is theredx.com, TheRedX.com. And the other one is landvoice.com. Both of them are well-established players in the real estate industry. If you buy on a month-to-month basis, it will cost you about $50 a month to get a list. If you buy on an annual basis, it's less expensive. And both companies will bundle FSBO lists if you want that, expireds and FSBOs, or they'll give you past expireds if you want to go back a year ago or 2 years or 3 years. Some of them even have pre-foreclosure lists. So you can look at it and get just expireds or something more. But what they'll do is email you a list or give you access to a list every day of expireds in your marketplace. They sift those names through a number of databases, additional databases, in an attempt to find phone numbers. And LandVoice told me last week they now have phone numbers on 50 to 60% of expireds. Okay? I haven't tested that, but that's what they told me. Okay? So if this was going to be a source, I would invest $50 a month to save me all that effort on finding numbers.
Are these including cell phone numbers?
Yes. Yeah, not always, but yes, they because I've looked at the data, they're differentiated home and cell. Yes.
Because we're finding that more and more, even our established customers, that they're all getting rid of the landlines.
Yes.
Going to cell phones, and
yeah.
because of that, you're not finding them in the phone book.
LandVoice even has a premium service where you pay an additional $50 a month, and they guarantee you 50 phone numbers, 50 clients with numbers, and they are primarily cell numbers. So they're gathering them from other sources and then putting them on the MLS data. Okay, it's 11:30. We're wrapping up right on time, but I want to pause before we dismiss and just say, any ahas from the day? What were the key learning moments for you today?
We haven't worked with expireds in years.
Yes.
But it's eye-opening to see an actual plan.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it's just put them up phone book and we call.
Expireds are typically perceived as a new agent's field of work because experienced agents are like, that's too hard. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to work my sphere. Which,
so hard, it's just time consuming.
Nice and cozy. It is time consuming, yes, which is another reason it's typically been seen as a sphere of new agents. However, think about this, experienced agents. If you're going head to head with other agents within a prospecting source where you are the experienced agent talking to expired sellers, are you at a competitive advantage in getting that appointment? Oh my goodness gracious, yes. Yes. So,
Sometimes you know why that didn't sell even off the price.
yes, well sometimes you may have been in that home before. You know it intimately. So I coach expireds for any agent at any level of business who's willing to be proactive on a daily basis and they want to work with sellers. Okay? Any other ahas, learning moments? What's your big takeaway? What are you going to do differently as a result of this class? And I'm not saying you have to adopt this strategy, although if you are, that'd be awesome. Anything at all. Don't be shy. Okay. Yeah, whatever your source, be proactive in it. In fact, I'm going to encourage you all to go by my office, which is right down the hall on the right. Because 10 days ago, what is today, Wednesday? 13 days ago, an agent in the Woodlands came by my office and saw a blank wall and said, you need something right there. And so I thought, what do I want? What do I want to put on that wall? What am I going to look at every day that's going to inspire me and inspire the agents who come by here? And this is what I wrote. It speaks directly to what you just said. The differentiating characteristic of successful salespeople is their willingness to consistently open the door to new relationships. My willingness to do that on a daily basis is my competitive advantage. The daily discipline of proactively generating leads separates me from the pack, increases my lead, and guarantees my success. When facing internal resistance or external rejection, I ask myself, who in my market is willing to do this? Answer, no one. That's my, so by the way, I ordered posters, I got them, I framed them, hung it on the wall this morning in my office. So I would come down and take a look. Anytime you need inspiration, you just stand there and stare. Like, what do I got to do to get my business off high center? What do I got to do to get to the next level? What do I have to do to generate a deal in the next 30 days? You just do that. Just proactively lead generate on a daily basis, and your success is guaranteed. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I have a question. You may have answered this.
Keep asking. I'm going to turn the video camera off.